Okay, all right. So let me quickly go ahead and create the custom report once again. All right. So the sub report once again. I want to create a new custom report. So the only problem that the only reason we were not able to actually uh, uh, get the report working was we had not selected the report type earlier. That was the whole problem. Okay, so what I'll do is ZF. This is sub report 1, and I think I have this created already. ZF. Yeah. So what I've done is I have created two reports. One is this one, sub report 1, right?
Yes.
Okay, and this basically gives me a list of all the standard reports available in the tenant along with the total. If I go to the report definition real quick, this is a very simple report. All I'm taking is the report types. So if I can quickly come back, so both the reports are on the similar parameter. So my grouping parameter is basically the report type. That's what I am using as my group by field. And then as a summarization field, I'm simply counting the output of those report types. So that's why I see that for advanced, the total count is 2244. Now for custom reports, what I've also done is I have also added additional parameter or additional summarization. So for the standard reports, there is obviously just one summarization, which is the count, right? Because when it comes to standard reports, there's no concept of a temporary standard report. But if you look at the custom report that I've built, or the report which is pulling me all the custom reports, there is another summarization I have added, which is temporary count, which basically gives me the count of all temporary employees. Okay, so if I look at the other report definition, all I've done is I have added additional summarization, which is sum, and this is a workday delivered field. So I'm basically adding all the reports which are temporary, right? So I'm basically checking, is the report a temporary report? And if it is yes, I'm just returning one. So this is that eval expression field that we had discussed last time. Let me quickly open it once. So if I go into this field, all I'm checking is the report temporary? So if you see here, returns true if the report definition is temporary. So if it is temporary, I'm returning 1. If the report is non-temporary, I'm returning 0. And then I'm simply counting the result, right? So I'm simply counting or doing a sum of all the temporary reports that are returned. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, now let's create our composite report. So create custom report as usual is our report task. I'm creating a report called ZF, view all reports in tenant. Okay, I am selecting the report type as composite. The moment I select the report type as composite, my view changes. Okay, now here last time I was not directly adding the business object, and that is why it was giving me that null error. Now what is my business object? If you look at this report, and let's open the other report as well. So let me open the custom report as well. So when deciding the business object, if you look at both these reports, one is all custom reports. Now these are two reports.
Maybe I can only see the screen of create custom report.
Oh, okay. Let me just wait. Uh, okay, let me do one thing. So if you see, there are two reports that I have. One is view custom report for all standard reports, and this is, so the business object for all standard reports is, okay, so the business object that I have used for all standard reports is standard report, and the business object that I have used for all custom reports is custom report. So if you see, as such, there are two reports that I'm going to use as sub reports, but the primary business object of both these reports is different. One is custom report and the second one is standard reports. So now when I'm creating my composite report, what should be the business object? Obviously, it should be an object which links both or all of the sub reports that I'm going to use on the composite report. And what would that be? That would be report type. So if you see here, I'm taking report type as the grouping field for both my reports, standard reports as well as custom reports. So here, instead of selecting the actual business object, what we select on a composite report is the field which is used for the purpose of grouping. So now when I'm creating my custom report, I would select a report type as the business object. Make sense?
Okay, so in this case, the grouping is same like report type. What if the groupings in both the metrics report is different? Like one is country, the other one is state.
Mhm.
So
Then you'll
what
have
would?
to select both those report types. So if you see, I have the option of selecting others as well. So let's see if
Okay,
I can search for company. So if there are more than one reports with different grouping parameters, then all of those will have to be selected.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you can have
And this
more
is a
than one
mandatory
business.
step.
Sorry.
This is the mandatory step. We have to
Yeah,
select the
this is
business.
mandatory because without Workday knowing what is the what is the parameter by which it is going to the composite report is going to link with the sub reports, it will not know which sub reports to pull. Now we'll see this in the next screen. So identifying a key field is the primary task when you build your custom report. Okay,
Okay.
so now when I click OK, now you'll see this takes me to the screen for building my composite report.
And what is that prompt set? It was there in
Okay,
the.
prompt set is when you have multiple reports. Now in both our reports, we are not using any prompts, right? But let's
Okay.
say in I have two reports or three reports, and in all three reports, I want to pass, let's say, company as the parameter. Now instead of passing it separately on each of my individual reports, I can instead create a prompt set. So a prompt set allows me to pass parameters to more than one report through the common set of parameters on the composite report. I'll show that to you. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So even now, if I want, I can go ahead and define the prompt set. So this gear icon that you see here, prompt set is completely optional. It is only required when all of your different reports have similar selection parameters. So if I go to prompts tab, if you see here, I can define the prompts. Okay, but that is not required for us right now. So right now, the moment I select a report type as the business object on my composite report, this is the screen that opens up. Right now, this is similar to an Excel worksheet. Now the first thing that we need to define for creating a custom report is the control field. So what field is acting as a control field which will allow me to link this composite report with its sub reports? Now in our case, the control field is report type, because report type is the field which we have selected as our business object, and that is the field which will allow us to link this composite report to both our sub reports. So irrespective of what business object you select, irrespective of how many business objects you select, you'll always have to define control fields. So here we just have one control field. I'm clicking on my first column, which is C1, and this shows me this downward triangle. And when I click on it, the first thing that, as I mentioned, that I need to define is the control field. So if there are different reports with different grouping fields, then you'll have to create as many control fields. In our case, because both our reports have the same grouping field, we just need to define one control field. So I'm selecting control field. Okay, so what is my control field? My control field is report type. The reason it is taking control type by default is because I just selected one business object. Had I selected more than one, they would all have shown here. Now this defaulted because there's just one. Okay, had there been more than one, then Workday would have asked me to select one of the relevant ones. So now I'm naming this column. The name of this column could be anything. I'm simply naming it as the same as the business object, but this could be anything. I could have named this column as ABC. Okay, I could have named this column as ABC. So I'm selecting report type as the column name. Okay, and I would click on OK. So we'll talk about styles and other options later. Let me click OK. All right. So the first thing that I've defined is the control field. The name of the control field is report type, or the name of this column is control type, and the report type and the control field that I've selected is report type. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, now since I've defined my control field, now based on that control field, I can select all the sub reports, and it is these sub reports which will allow me to pull data on my custom report. So the next column is where I'll define my data fields. So data field is what I'm defining now. Okay, this I'm calling as standard reports. Again, this is the name of the column that would show up, and here I'm going to select my sub reports. Now what sub reports will be available? This would be only those sub reports which have the same grouping field as the control fields that I have selected. So when I bring my cursor and click on prompts, I have not entered any selection, but if you see, Workday is only showing me 3 reports. Now the reason or 4 reports. Now the reason I get these 4 reports is because these are the reports which are built on the same grouping by field as the control field that I've selected. Okay, so this
Okay.
is the first report I'm selecting. Now this report has, so if I can go back, my all standard reports, this one, how many summarizations does it have? It has just one summarization called count. So that is the field that gets added. So when I scroll down, I have selected my sub report as all standard reports, and the fields to aggregate is count. What is this count? This is the count that I have defined on my sub report, and I'll click on OK. So this is my first data column. Let me add my second data column as well. Now here I'm bringing in data from my first custom report, which is standard reports. Now I also want to bring in data from my second custom report, which is basically the custom reports in the tenant. So once again, I'll click here. I'll define the data column. Now in this data column, I want to get the custom reports count. And where am I going to get it from? From my second sub report. So when I click here, it again shows me all 4 of those sub reports, and I'm taking the second one. Now when I take the second one, if you see here, my fields to aggregate is defaulted to count, but here I have 2 summarizations. One is count and the temporary count. So basically in here I have 2 summarizations. One is count and the second one is temporary count. So I can select either one of these. So for now I'm selecting count, and once again I'm clicking on OK. Make sense?
first column would be control field, the other one would be defining the data.
The other one would be data columns, and you can define as many data columns as you want. So I've created two data columns, one to get data from all standard reports sub report, and the second one to get data from all custom reports sub report. If I want to edit any one of these, I can edit it, I can delete the columns, I can create a duplicate column, and so on and so forth. So let me edit this, the first data column, and I want to call it the same as my second, which is standard reports count. Okay, now I want to add a new column with the same parameters. I can click here and create a duplicate column. So this will add a new column and I can make whatever changes I want to. So for now, let's not do any one of those. I have created a composite report with data being pulled from two sub reports. So let's run this now. So now if you see, let me run both my sub reports simultaneously. So this is my first sub report, which shows all standard reports. This is my second sub report, which shows all custom reports. Okay, so from my first sub report, I'm getting the count, and from my second sub report, again, I'm getting the count. So now when I go to the composite report, if you see, I'm able to pull all that information together. So I'm able to pull that from there are 1597 standard reports of type advanced, which is what basically I see here as well. And how many custom reports do I have of type advanced? 2447, which is what I see here as well. So I'm able to pull data from two different reports. Both these reports are on completely different business objects. So there was no way with a matrix report I could have brought this data together. Make sense? Any questions till now?
Can we add total in composite?
Sorry?
The total is missing, so can we add
Yeah,
total in
we'll
composite
we'll
report?
come to that. We'll come to that. So any questions till now?
No, no, none.
All right. So for now, I have defined everything at my column level. So all data that I want to pull, all calculations that I want to do, I would define at the column level. Okay. Now, once again, if I run this report, as you asked, I also need to get the total. So there are, of course, 10 transposed reports of type standard, 33 transposed reports of type uh, custom. What I need is I need a total of transposed reports, which is 43. So how do I do that? Now I have pulled data, I have defined my control field. What I need to do is do some calculation. And what is the calculation that I want to do? I want to simply count the number of reports in this with this and get me the overall number. So here what I want is I want to first add an empty column. The reason you would add an empty column is just to add some gap. So wherever you want to add some gap for the purpose of formatting, you can add an empty column. So system would not show anything in here. I'm just adding some empty column. The next thing I want to define is, so how did I add my empty column? I clicked on define and then empty. But this time I want to do a calculation. And what calculation that I want to do? I want to count the number of reports. So the name of this column I'm saying is total count or total report count, and I want to count, and here there are different options. I can find the difference, I can divide, I can multiply, I can find the percentage, I can sum, and I can sum range. So what is that I want to sum? I want to sum the number of reports which are returned by C2. What is C2? If you see, this is column 2, and I want to sum it till C3. right? So sum range allows me to define a range. Of course, these are two consecutive, right? And that's why sum range doesn't make any sense. Here sum would have been enough. So what is sum? Sum allows me to sum column 2 with column 3. But range allows me to add a range, right? Right from column 2 till column 10, I want to count everything or add everything. So in this context, both would give me the same results, right? Okay, and I'm saying okay. So here, what am I doing? I am getting the total report count, which is basically the sum of C2, which is column 2, plus C3. So let's run this report now. All right. So we see system has added an empty column for me. And here I'm getting the total report count, which is basically, if you see here, 10 plus 33. So it gives me 43, and 22, it gives me 22, and 110 plus 29, it gives me 139. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now the true capability of a composite report is that it allows me to do any additional formatting as well. So for example, let me go back. I want to add one more empty column here. So I'm adding another empty column. Not sure if it will allow me duplicate names. Okay, now from my second report, which is custom report, I also want to get the sum of the temporary reports. So earlier we just pulled one summarization, which is basically the count. Now I also want to get the second summarization. So once again, I am now going to column number 7, and I want to define a new data column, and this I'm calling as temporary report to count. And once again, I want to pull data from my sub report 2. And what data do I want to pull this time? I want to pull the temporary count. Okay, so now I'm getting the count of standard reports, count of custom reports, the overall count of the reports, and then from my second sub report, I'm also getting the temporary report count, which is basically 326 and 75 and 20 and 20 and so on. Okay, let's do some formatting as well. So what I want is, let's go back. So this is what is getting me the report names, right? Advanced, matrix, trending. Let me run it once again. So it is the control column. So this is kind of my grouping column. So if you see here, where is this coming from? This is coming from the row grouping that we defined on the report. Similarly, this is coming from the control column that I defined. So I want to do some formatting on my control column. So this is coming from the control column. This is coming from the first data column. This is coming from the second data column. This is coming from the calculation. So I want to do some formatting, some styling, right? I'll go back and I can define a style. I can either do it here. Okay, so once again, I want to do some formatting. So either I can click on style option, which is directly available here, or even on edit, I have the same styling options. Earlier, we did not do it or have a look at that. Now, if you want, I can click on style. Okay, so in terms of style, if you go here, Workday has given us a lot of standard styles. People have created some custom styles. I can create my own formatting style. So I can define a style using color and bold option and so on and so forth. So let's first see the styles that are available. So these are all styles available, right? So I can do a center alignment. I can do a right alignment. I can do some bolds, I can do, so basically I can define any styles that I want to. So these are all Workday standard
This
styles.
style is only,
Sorry, I
yeah,
didn't get
this
that.
is only available in composite, right? I mean, we do we
Yeah,
have
yeah, these are only available in
do we
composite.
have this style in advanced and metric?
No, we don't.
Okay, okay.
So this is why composite is 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 created, right? Because there are certain options which are only available in composite. So what I've done is I have created a style saying that my this is a report header. So let me run this report now. So if you see now, because this is report header, this is a workday delivered style, and that's how it is showing me. Okay, let's see if I can add some styles to my other columns. And as I mentioned, there are lots of standard styles available. People have created custom styles as well. So my total count, once again, I want to add some style. So I can go in here and either select any of the workday delivered style or some custom styles which people have created. So this I want to be blue and blank when zero, or this is some cash total. There's some standard style available. I'm not sure how it would look, but let's select that. Okay, so this is how the style looks, right? So you can define any style that we want to. I want to define a few other styles here. So this I want to define a style, and the style that I want to define is blue blank 10. Okay, so now if you see, this is blue, and whenever it is 0, earlier it was showing me 0 the way it shows me here, but the style I have selected is whenever it is 0, show me blank. So this way I can do any formatting that I want to, right? Okay, now what do we do on the rows? Now any rows are basically used for any update to the formatting. So the default data that I'm getting from the custom reports, I'm directly pulling that data onto my composite report, right? Any extra formatting that I want to do, I can do it at the row level. So for example, let's say for each of these columns, right, I want to get the total. So here I have the totals for row. So 10 plus 33 is giving me the row total, which is 43, and 22 and 110 plus 29, so 139. So I am getting the row total, but then I do not have the column total as of now. So I want to get the column total as well. Now how do I do that? I would get that through defining options at the row level or at the column level, sorry, at the row level. Now any additional filters I want to do, so let me do one thing. Let me open this report in a separate tab, run it here, so that we can compare it side by side. Okay, this is how the report looks right now. uh, okay, this is how the report looks right now. Any additional formatting or filtering that I want to do, I can do it at the row level. So for example, when I come here, I am now going to my row, and let's say out of all these columns or all these rows, the report is giving me, I only want data for advanced and composite report, or let's say advanced and matrix report. I want to filter out all the other report types. Now this kind of filtering can be done using using row level. So here now I can go to row and define a lookup data. So what is lookup data? A lookup data is basically similar to my VLOOKUP or any filter that I want to define. So here as well I can do a calculation. I can insert an empty field or empty row, but I want to do a lookup data. Okay, here I want to call it advanced, and here if you see, for this row I can do a filter, or I can define a filter criteria. So I'm saying report type in the selection list, because this is only one key field available. So Workday pre-populates that key field for me. I'm saying report type is advanced. Okay, so let's select this and run this now. So if you see now, it is only giving me data for report type advanced. So anything that you do at the row level, any filter that you define at the row level would override everything that has been done at the column level, right? I want to include other report types as well. Let's
Yep.
see how it works. So I want to edit this once again. And basically what I want is, in this, I want to include both advanced as well as simple report. Okay, I'm calling it, and let's run this now. So now it is giving me, let's quickly check. I have 1597 plus 194, which is around 1793. Uh, 4000. It is getting me 1597 here. Okay, here it is 244. Oh, sorry. Where is simple? Okay, simple is 0 here. So 1597 plus 0 is 1597, and 2447 plus 22, which is 24 some 69, which is what I get here.
Yes.
Okay,
Can
I
we
want,
add any other
hmm,
filter? Currently, we only have report type. So,
right, but if you add any other filter, it wouldn't be of any use. Let's do a lookup and let's see the report owner. Do I have that option? No. So all
no.
filters are driven by your key field that you have selected, or your control
Let
field
me
that you have
start.
selected. Okay. Okay. So the reason I'm doing this is because now I want matrix and trending together. I could have added them separately if had I wished, but I'm just adding them together to show you how you can group data together. I want to create a new lookup field, and this is for inbox and search. I'm saying inbox and search. Search and transposed. Mm, and finally I want to add, so how many, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 1 oh, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and this is composite, and here I have composite. Okay, Okay, let's run it once. Okay, this is how I'm getting my data. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to get the row total, the column totals. Now, as such, it was not directly possible without adding these filters. So unless you have rows defined, you cannot get this column total, and that's why I had to. So this total was easy because the reason was, let me show that. So we were able to get this total because we had these columns defined. So all I did was I said, okay, get the sum of C2 and C3, which is what which is where I got this result. But unless I had defined these rows, there's no way I can get this row total. So now that I have defined my rows, I can do a new calculation here. I want to add an empty string or an empty row, and now one second. Okay, I have entered an empty column, and what I want to do is I want to do a new calculation, and here this time I want to use sum range, right? Because I want to sum right from row 1 till row 4. So earlier, because I was just adding two columns, I selected the option sum, but sum range, if you see, allows me to sum the entire range. So tomorrow if you add a new row between row 1 and row 4, again it would be automatically updated. So this is once again total report count. I want to do some formatting styling as well. So here once again I want to say this is uh, cache totals. I don't know what that formatting means, but I'm selecting that and I'm saying okay. Okay, so this is how I'm getting my report out. All right, so what I've done is I've
Yeah.
added an empty row, I have done some formatting. All the other options which are on composite matrix report, if you see, I have the drill down options which is coming directly from the matrix report, so I don't have to do anything else. The only thing is, on a composite report you cannot have charts being displayed. So composite report is only used for the purpose of uh, it is only used for the purpose of showing data. So you cannot have any charts being displayed. Okay. Now on this empty column, I can do some other format. So I can do conditional formatting as well. Let me run this report once again. Okay. So what I want is, if let's say report count is less than 200, then I want to show it in red, just as an example. Let's see if I can do that. So now I have entered an empty column. Here if I want, I can do some conditional formats. So I want to define a conditional format, and here I'll have to build a calculation. So let's see if there are any condition rules available. There are now none. Okay, here I can say, so here I want to say uh, all by row, or what I want is by column. So what is my column? If C2 I'm checking composite report is greater than 0. Composite report count is greater than 0. I've created a new condition. If that is the case, what I want is I want to add a new style. And what is the style that I want to add? I want to do uh, a gray bold underline. I don't know what that is, right? So if I want, I can hide something. If this condition becomes true, comp report count is greater than 0. So now if this condition becomes true, then for example I can hide it. Right now it says do not override, but visibility I can hide it, I can show it. I have overwritten the style, right? And what happens if the condition is false? Then again I can define a different style. So if the condition is true, then I can use a certain style. If the condition is false, I can use a certain style. So this way you can define conditional formatting, and you can do formatting at each row. Uh, let's see why is it not. So it is C12. Uh, let's look at the condition R4C2. So what is R4C2? So it is row number 4 and column number 2.
We did
If
the condition formatting on empty row. Uh,
no, all condition formattings will be done on empty row. On a normal row, you
okay.
cannot define a condition. So conditional formattings are used for the purpose of empty, used on the purpose. So even though you're defining this conditional, the reason you do it here is to keep everything else clean. Okay,
Okay.
but let me define. Okay, I want to define an override condition. Okay, let me say uh, by column C1 report type R1 C1. So by uh, row, if my rows and column, oh no, it was row 4 and column 2, that's why it was not giving me. greater than 0. Comp report count greater than 0. It was not giving me. mm, Let me select gray, bold, underline. Else, what happens if the condition is false? Then I want it to be uh, left indent bold. I'm just randomly selecting some styles. So any formatting can be done on an empty row as long as the condition is true. Okay. So now if you see, it is the reason it is giving me this highlight is because as per my condition, what is the condition that I have written? The condition that I've written, so my earlier condition was actually false or incorrect. So what is the condition that I've written? I have basically said if row 4 and column second. So what is my row 4? This one, and column second. Earlier I had selected row 4 and column 1. So now what I'm saying is if row 4 and column second, which is composite and standard reports column, if its value is greater than 0, so if it is true, then gray and bold and underline. So it is underlined and bold and gray. However, if it is false, then do a left indent. So this formatting, let me delete this and do it at the empty level. So let me clear this. Okay, and let me update this formatting itself. So I want to define conditional format. Once again, I have already created two conditions. Oh, okay. They both got deleted, but I believe you get the idea, right? So usually we use
Yes.
these empty rows for defining these conditional formats, and we can define any kind of conditional formats in empty row, even if it is not related to that empty row. Okay, so the
Okay.
advantage of a composite report is that it gives you this whole list of styling options. You can introduce gaps. So wherever you have this reporting requirement wherein you need advanced formatting, layouts, conditional formattings, getting data from different sub reports, doing some calculations from different sub reports, that's where you can uh, build a composite report. Again, for example, I could have got a percentage of the temporary reports out of my total custom report. Again, I could have created a new calculation for that. So a composite report basically allows me to do all of this styling, which is absolutely not possible with any of the report types except for BERT report. So BERT reports are used for a completely different purpose. They are used for generating letters and statements. For example, your compensation revision letter and all and those purposes. That's where BERT reports are used.